G'day everyone, welcome to the Panic Room for Hump Day, Wednesday. You had days and days on Monday and Tuesday of doing lots of nothing, and tomorrow lots of nothing, and Friday lots of nothing, but today is Hump Day where you move from doing lots of nothing to lots of nothing stuck at home. So welcome to the Panic Room with me, Steve McAlpine, and my colleague and friend David Robertson over on the other side of the country. Dave, what have you been up to? What sort of day is it in Sydney today?
Do you want the truth?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm fed up. I'm fed up. I'm looking for you to cheer me up. I am bored to tears with this stuff. I've never been bored in my Christian life at all, but I hate being this relatively stuck at home. I feel guilty about doing anything. I am just cheesed off. So
you haven't been to the beach?
No, I would love to go to the beach, but I don't live in Perth, so there are people here.
Yeah, it's 32 degrees in Perth today, and Wilson's been down to Swanbourne Beach, skinny dipping. So yeah, this is Wilson today. He hasn't got sunburns, had lots of sunscreen on, but Wilson is going without his cossy. So he's been down to the beach. 32 degrees today, 18 degrees in Sydney. Gee, Australia's a big place. There's that difference, isn't it?
Well, it's horrible as well. I mean, a horrible image to share with you. I mean, I'm not going to go skinny dipping, let's put it that way. But listen, my wife was out flower hunting and she didn't manage to find anything. We have a great flower shortage. This is a disaster.
Yes, my brother said that he had no flour to make his 1-year-old son a birthday cake. He said, what are people doing who weren't baking bread before? Are they trying to now? So I sent him a picture of what it looks like when you've got too much flour in your house.
Oh, let's see this.
Yeah, see? There you are, sitting, looking at all that flour going, did I really need all that flour?
Well, you can send some to us. If you baked a cake with that, by the way, it would be an extremely interesting experience.
And an expensive cake.
Yeah, and an expensive one. All right. I tell you what we've got. I've got just an absolutely fascinating passage to look at in the Bible, and an article as well in the Sydney Morning Herald. But it's a passage that I heard Simon Manchester preach on. Now, you know Simon. So
I know
I'll tell
Simon.
you what, we're going to hear a wee bit of Simon. He often begins his sermon, a very serious and wonderful biblical preacher. But he often begins by telling a wee story, and I really appreciated the beginning of this. And we'll put a link to the whole sermon as well.
I don't know if you've heard before the story of an old lady who lives with her 2 sons and also a cat. And one son loves the cat and one son hates the cat. And the son that loves the cat has to travel overseas. And so when he's been gone a few days, he rings back and he says, how's the cat? And the brother answers it and says, the cat is dead. And the brother who's overseas says, why are you so insensitive? Why have you put this so badly? Why didn't you say to me, the cat was playing on the roof? And then a couple of days later you could say, the cat injured its leg. And then you could say a couple of days later, we took it to the vet. And then eventually the vet had to very gently put the cat down. Why are you so insensitive? Why are you so thoughtless? Anyway, how's mother? And he said, she's playing on the roof.
Okay. He then went on to do a passage, Deuteronomy 20. Now, Steve, are you familiar with this passage?
I am familiar with the passage in Deuteronomy 20. It's a pretty racy number, isn't it? It's one that will set your pulse racing if you're not too happy with seeing what devastation of people groups looks like, I think.
Yeah. So it's all about going to war. And for me, it was and remained for many years until about 3 years ago, the number one problem I had with the Bible. And that was the so-called genocidal passages, which are actually far fewer than we think. And I struggled with that for so long. But this sermon has a really, really good understanding of it. And I thought I would share it with you, just a couple of things. Number one, he just simply says that God fights evil, and that there is evil in the world. And anyone who denies that there's evil, I think, is in real trouble. I'm in conversations just now with a guy who's saying there are no absolute good or evil. And he said, can you name one? And I said, child rape. And he says, well, I think it's wrong, but it's not absolutely wrong. And I said, well, I'm sorry, you live in a hellish world if that's the case. So one is God fighting evil. The second is God is fair in dealing with people. So there's nothing unjust in what he does. And that causes us to rethink, I think, when we read passages like that. And then the third one, which is the one I really wanted to talk about, was God is farsighted. So he talks about these things. Now, this is a picture from my balcony the other day. I'm sorry to boast, but we'll see if we can put this one up. It's a picture of what I look out on every single morning. And
wow, Dave.
Isn't that beautiful?
I did not realize that you were so salubrious and that you lived in such a salubrious part of the world and that you had such a salubrious, that's a great word, a salubrious view of the world from your flat. And you're complaining.
It's natural. It's natural. It's not salubrious. It's natural. That, I mean, it's just, I look at nature. I look out on green, which is wonderful. And yeah, I mean, I do feel enormously privileged. I sit out in the morning, I have my coffee, I hear the birds sing.
Yet you've been complaining, Dave.
I read these passages. But in Deuteronomy 20, let me read this to you, right? Yeah. I thought this was great. When you lay siege to a city for a long time, fighting against it to capture it, do not destroy its trees by putting an axe to them, because you can eat their fruit. Do not cut them down. Are the trees people that you should besiege them? However, you can use trees that are not fruit trees. And I thought, what's he going to say about that? What's that all about? And it was brilliant, because I think I want to apply this to our situation we are in. And it's simply this. What God was saying was, you got to look to the future. You're going to have food. So don't cut down the things that are going to provide you with food. And I'm thinking about this current crisis. And as it happens, in yours and my favorite newspaper, the Sydney Morning Herald, I read an analysis by their chief political correspondent saying the next modeling data will force a cruel choice. And it's this whole issue of, in order to save people's lives, how much of the economy do we destroy? Because if we're not able to eat in a year's time, is that not going to do more harm?
Yeah, that's a great point, Dave, because my wife was saying to me yesterday that there's a second curve coming, according to medical experts, which is the mental health curve.
Yeah.
And they're already asking retired practitioners and those who could get their registration in psychology to hurry up, and retired practitioners to come back, and those who could get their training finished to finish it quickly, because they see this curve coming that we need to look at every level of farsightedness, because things are going to keep coming along the way further down the line. That's basically the issue, isn't it?
Yeah. And you've got to have seed so that you can grow stuff for the next year. You know, this idea that, we spend everything now, or we close everything now, and then you've also got to think to the future. And sometimes that does mean difficult choices. Now, I'm not talking about the herd thing, and I'm not talking about, we let some people die because, but I can tell you this, I have regularly contacted by medical people, both here in Australia, in the United Kingdom, in the US. And I can tell you right now, and I'm not going to name them, but there are hospitals where if you're over 65, you're not being put on an incubator. They're making that value judgment. They're making that value decision. And, it is really, really sad. But I do think, I'm thankful that the government here at least are considering both the health of the individuals at this moment in time and also the health of the nation in a year's time.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Yeah, it feels like it's a pH test, that you're trying to balance the pH levels in the water, and you've got to dip a bit in here, and then you dip a bit, and you've got to keep this juggling act going. And I think over time that's going to work, but it'll be an emotionally draining process, I think.
Yeah, I think it is. And I think, let's just take this back to Easter week before we finish. I'm reflecting on this a lot. The Lord is patient with us. And he's put into effect a plan to save people, and not just to save people immediately at the point. Jesus could have come down off the cross, but he didn't. He stayed. And he did in order to save billions of people, I believe, over a much, much longer period of time. And that's what we're celebrating in Easter week. So I'm going to recommend that people go and listen to the Simon Manchester sermon. You're all in your lockdown situation. You've got loads of time to listen to sermons now. Church is coming to you. And if you don't do it, then myself and myself, and what's your name again?
My name is Steve. Yeah, I get a word in edgeways occasionally.
Yeah, myself and Steve are going to sing to you tomorrow. We are going to bring you some music tomorrow. We're going to have a very special guest. But if he doesn't turn up, we'll sing. Okay?
A special guest. I'm sure it's not the Easter Bunny. Yeah.
No, it's not. Steve, I'm going to say goodbye. You got anything to say before we go?
Oh no, just to say that I will look at the long-term picture as well, and that hopefully by next week, which seems a long way at the moment, it might be called the We Don't Need to Panic as Much room, but we'll see. So great to speak to you. We'll see you all tomorrow, Thursday, which is close to Friday.
Yeah. God bless you. See you. Bye.